A ray of light travels down from the sky and activates a beacon, awakening a small, moth-like humanoid creature that emerges from a cocoon. The canyon-like landscape initially gives the impression of nothingness, but off in the distance there's what looks like a fortress wall and a field of statues that appear to be part of some ritual or ceremony. Then there's also the alien technology that appears abandoned from long ago. Cocoon is a game about worlds, but not just a game about worlds, a game about the protection of those worlds to ensure their regeneration, bringing back the life that has been lost throughout the eons of their existence. When the moth activates a portal that flings it up and out of the atmosphere, it's revealed that the canyon like biome was, in actuality, safely tucked away inside of a glowing orb, inside of a vault, and watched over by an insect like guardian statue, larger and more imposing than our new insect friend. This guardian angrily awakens and disappears inside of the orb to more closely look after what they are actually protecting. Tiny creatures inside pods of a suspension liquid filled with the potential to become the beating hearts of a new civilization, and likely also the future worshippers of their protectors. The moth then picks up and carries the weight of the world around literally on its shoulders. If the image of Atlas holding up the celestial sphere comes to mind, well, you're in pretty good company because I did too. By the way, Atlas doesn't actually hold up the world, as many people commonly believe, but that's probably one of the first associations that comes to mind when you see this beetle toting around this tiny globe. Atlas was a titan that fought in a battle against the Olympian gods and was defeated. As a punishment, he was condemned by Zeus to bear the weight of the heavens on his shoulders for all eternity. And this little moth must also battle guardians for control of the cosmos and the weight of the world, but not as a punishment. After defeating each guardian in battle, a power is released, which grants a special ability to the orb that the world is contained in. The moth uses these orbs to activate various mechanisms, jumping in and out of them via liquid portals to traverse worlds within worlds or carry more than one world at a time. The orange orb allows hidden paths to become visible. The green turns elevators and platforms from solid to gas. Purple is able to be transported by being grown and plucked from spores. And the gray fires a laser that activates cosmic crystals. It was only after obtaining the gray orb that my understanding of this universe started to shift, because once reaching the door that typically houses a guardian, instead there was what can only be described as an alien insect god, and it's awakened when the orange, green, and purple orbs embed themselves in its head. But battling this god didn't feel much like a battle at all. It felt more like a test. The god watches your performance, almost nodding in approval as you reach higher and higher levels, and it willingly hands over each orb as you complete each trial. See, at first I thought that the purpose of defeating the Guardians was to get rid of those trying to stand in your way. But it seems as though they weren't enemies to be destroyed, but rather fellow protectors, another step in the journey. A test of whether or not the one released from the cocoon is deserving of the immense responsibility of holding dominion over this universe and the budding lives within it. A series of trials that have happened time and time again, as we can tell by all of the worshipping statues, the soldier-like statues, as well as the statues which look a lot like our new friend. It makes so much sense to me that these aliens were akin to insects, because insects work tirelessly and without rest, driven by pure instinct and a drive to complete whatever they were hatched to do. Generation after generation, just born with the knowledge of how to complete complex tasks such as completing these glyph puzzles. Once the god hands over the purple orb and the final test is complete, the torch has been passed and it disappears, with the moth ascending to an ethereal plane where the statues of the four world guardians await, relieved of their duties. The released moon ancestors have also come here, with the moons they were once holding now rotating on an axis. The ancestors were found surrounded by the same black goo from inside the moth's cocoon, and it also seems to power the orbs, a power that will hopefully bring back new life. With their unique properties, the biomes have to be placed one inside the other to create a seed of sorts. The arid and rocky terrain for strength, industry and mechanics for the advancement of technology, organic living tissue for the creation of life, and rain, water, and vegetation for life sustainability. Each seed forms its own planet, and it's encircled by the moons of the ancestors and held in rotation by the gravitational pull of the ethereal world that still rests inside the sun. new planets for a new life. The little moth, now transformed into a new god of worlds, looms over the new universe and it waits until the cycle begins again. Heroes come in all shapes and sizes, as we can see here in the story about a young girl and her companion off to save the world.